Hi, this is JMR 3366, and this will be setting the scene for the Doors demonstration of the library token ActionPads. This is a library token you can use for the MapTool VTT application, and this demonstration will essentially talk about the Doors functionality. But first, let's set the scene and talk about the library token itself. You can download this token through the link provided and copy this or drag drop it to a map within your campaign. It's important that only one of these library tokens exists within your campaign. There are some key important pieces in regards to the library token. The macro here, the onTokenMove macro, what is important about that is there can be only one onTokenMove macro amongst all of your library tokens. If you're using more than one library token with an onTokenMove macro, you'll need to merge this onTokenMove with your other onTokenMove macros. Again, only one onTokenMove can be active amongst all of your library tokens. For the Doors demonstration, this isn't actually required. So if you were going to use the Lib ActionPads library token for just Doors, you could rename this and still have full functionality. A couple of other important things to note on the library token. There's two other macros that you'll use most frequently. There's an ActionPads Designer macro. That's the primary overlay that we'll interface with to manage our doors. And there's a reset option. This is handy if you use multiple displays or change resolution such that the overlay is now out of view and you can't click or interface with it. This will set the overlay back to the 0, 0 position in the upper left corner. Okay, so that's about the overlay. Let's talk about the scene. I have one demonstration token here with Vision to demonstrate what can be moved past or into or seen. On the object layer, I have a few door tokens. This is the native sizes of the tokens. Again, these doors will be operating at the object layer, and an actuator token will be created on the token layer for the user or player to interface with. But these tokens here can essentially be sized to any size that you'd like and placed into the proper position. I'll do that now. Looks close enough. The other things to note regarding the scene, we have the background map, pretty straightforward. And then lastly, we have the different types of blocking layer. In this demonstration, I'm using wall and movement blocking. However, only wall blocking is required. So all that we will see here is the same if you were to only be using wall. And that is the scene. Let's move on to some simple doors. Now that we have the scene set, this is going to be a quick demonstration of how easy and fast it can be to create super simple doors. So we're going to fire up our ActionPads Designer, and we will get into more of this and all the functionality later. This is, again, just to show how quickly you can get a door set. So there's a couple things we can do here. I'm going to create a new template token. This will place a template token on the object layer. It's a free size template token, and I'm going to essentially take this and I'm going to drag this over to where I want one of my doors to be. And I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste this token. I'm going to put this token where the other door is going to be. And once these two tokens are in place, I just need to click my simple door icon, and we have a simple door. And there is another simple door. And to explain or to show how this looks from a user or player's perspective, there's our player. We can open the door, close it, open, open, right? And that is our super simple doors. Okay, let's set up these two doors in the demonstration as hinge or swing doors, your kind of typical door that you'd see. So this will cover setting up the asset, adding a keyhole peep to the exterior door, setting them up as a hinge swing door, and the animation of the doors. So a couple things first. Let's get on the object layer here. When we highlight a token, you'll see that there's no interaction from the overlay. There's a couple of checks I do to see if this particular token has been configured as an action pad. One of the checks I do is if action pad exists in the GM name. I do this as a safety check, and it can be changed back after you've configured it as an action pad. But what I found is there were times where I had the wrong token selected, and I clicked on one of the buttons, and it changed the properties of how the action pad worked. So again, this is just a safety check. Let's go ahead and do this on both of these. You will receive an error message if you attempt to set a token as an action pad without the GM name. As an example, we're going to try to set this as a template, and we'll get an error message saying the action pad doesn't exist. Now, in order to use these tokens as doors, we do need to set them as a template. So let's do that to both of these now. Set that as a template, and you'll see that it's been successful, and we'll do the same for here. Now these two tokens can be used as doors. Typically in this, when I'm at this particular portion, I go back into the blocking layer so I can check for alignment and things of this nature. I see I need to make some corrections here, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is on move. Again, I can toggle between offset, scale, and move. So I'm going to go ahead and move this to a couple pixels. That looks pretty good. Once that door is set, we have a couple other options that we would need to do now. Since this is an exterior door, I'm going to go ahead and put in a keyhole peep. The keyholes are done through pit blocking layer, and it's relatively simple. Again, just lay a zoom in here a bit and lay a quick rectangle down, and this will become the keyhole peep once we get the door set. Okay, from this point, I think we're ready to go. This is going to be a hinge door, and you'll see a few things change once I do this. Okay, so the transfer and the token shift is complete. So what does that mean? In order to do a hinge door, the pivot needs to be adjusted such that when we swing it open or close, it pivots at the right location. So you notice the token shifted. We'll need to correct that. You'll also notice a couple other things where these icons have changed. This is to say that you've successfully set this asset as a hinge door, but there are two extra steps you need to complete to finish the process. This is to set the door closed and to set the door open. So let's get the door line back up first. Zoom in to make sure we're aligned. That looks good. And that's a pretty nice closed state, so I'm going to say there's closed. You'll see it was set successfully. I'm going to go ahead and open a crack here, or create a crack in the door. I can do this by holding the Control and Shift keys down and using my mouse wheel, so that looks like a reasonable crack. So let's go ahead and set the crack of the door, and now let's set the open state. That door is done. Let's go ahead and finish the other door. So again, we've got it highlighted. I'm going to make this a hinge door. You'll see the same sort of thing where we have the shift and the tokens or the icons change. I'm going to go back to my blocking layer view so I can see better. And you'll notice this one I need to do a little bit of tweaking on the alignment since it was a bit of an oddly shaped door. We're going to go ahead and say that's the closed position, crack position, and open. And to be clear, crack the door crack option is just that. It's an option, so by no means is it required. Okay, these two doors are done. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. So from a player perspective, we can come down here and very similar to your door and any other door, right? We can move this out of the way. We can, open, crack, close, and here's like the keyhole peep. Okay, so that's how that would work. Not terribly exciting. Let's go ahead and add some excitement to this. So I want to add some animation. Animation is incredibly easy. Once we have the token kind of selected and we see this menu up, we can come into here and select the animation types. Again, no animation, rotating one way, and then rotates the other way. So let's see what happens if, I think this is the wrong way. So let's see what happens when we open this door. So you'll see the door is rotating the wrong direction. These kinds of things are super easy fixes. It's just that simple. So I want to rotate the other direction. Now let's go to closed. Let's go to crack. We're open. So that's how the animation portion works. And again, to quickly review that, so you click the door, you go into configuration, and you set the direction of your animation. I think that's also this way. Yeah. Okay, so that is how you can do hinged animated doors. This will be a demonstration of like a center pivot or like a bookshelf pivot kind of door where, let's say, you maybe have a secret door or, again, a center pivot option. It's going to be similar to the hinged door, but let's go ahead and get started. I've already sized the door asset pretty much the way I want. I'm going to put it right about there. Again, this is just an example. And get my designer open, and first I need to set it as a template. That's done, and when we want to do a center pivot, it's essentially doing a hinged door configuration. So I'm going to go ahead and do a hinged door. And the trick to this is, again, pretty simple. Once I have the hinged door set like this, I want to open the token back up and double click in the layout. This is going to reset the token back to its original non-offset setup. Hit OK. And you'll notice at this point all the blocking layer and movement layer should line up perfectly. I'm going to say there's closed. Again, holding my shift and control buttons down, I'm going to do a crack and then open. And essentially it's just like your normal kind of hinge door. So I'm going to zoom back out, go to the open layer, move my guy over, and there's my center pivot door. Animation is the same. So I can set up animation essentially that quick. I'm going the wrong way, so let's set it to the right direction. And now I should be able to, there you go. And that's kind of your center pivot door option. All right, in this section, I'll call this kind of one step up from the super simple doors. This allows you to have some visual representation of a door asset. It's a built-in door asset where you don't have to search, find, or create your own custom asset. So you have a limited number of options for these. You can find those options located under your default door color. Glass is just that. That's what you would use for windows and things of that nature. You've got white, gray, right? I'm going to use brown. I'm going to apply. Okay, and at this point I'm going to create two hinged doors. I have to drop a token down on the object layer, right? We've seen these template tokens. I'm going to place one here, and I'm going to need two of these. Now, something special about these is, if you notice, you'll have a little caret here. This needs to be lined up with where you want the hinge to be. So I need to size this better. Similar to here. Make sure that hinge is in the right spot, and we can line these up. These can be shifted around just like the other tokens that we've seen before, right? Once those tokens are in place, we can highlight them. And again, I want to make these a hinge door, so there's a couple steps to this. Let's go ahead and finish those steps. And there, we'll keep it closed, and then we'll make it simple. And there's open, and there's your kind of custom asset door. And similarly on this one, same thing, hinge door. We need to realign things as any hinge door would require. Let's line up, make sure we're good, looks good. There's our closed. And there's our open. Okay, and those doors function essentially the same way. I'm going to go ahead and animate these just like before. And now these doors function like any other door, and you didn't have to find or locate a custom asset. These are these built-in doors. But again, you do have a limited color option. Okay, this section is going to cover sliding doors. We're going to set up one sliding door, and it's really just a few clicks. A couple things to note. You can set up a keyhole peep in sliding doors just like you set up keyhole peeps in your hinged doors by using the pit blocking and setting up a small rectangle wherever you want the keyhole peep to be. So that functionality is the same. I don't want a keyhole peep in this one, so let's go ahead and just set it up as a sliding door. So I'm going to go to my object layer, pick my door asset, and make it a sliding door. And it's that simple. Now, you'll notice the crack state option. We have a few different options here. We can it will create a crack in 10% increments. So essentially I can go through this and cycle through. You'll see that the crack increases up until the point of going back to 0. So let's go ahead and just put a little crack into the door to show some of the functionality of how cracking works with sliding doors. Okay, that's really it. The door is done. I can go back to my token layer and essentially do my options. Just like before, open, close, peek, or open, close, crack. To add some extra flair, let's animate this door. So I'm going to highlight the door. I'm going to go to my configuration and go through my animation options. Something different with the sliding doors animation is it doesn't rotate one way or the other since it's a sliding effect, right? So if you go the wrong direction, it gives you the effect as if there was no animation set. So as an example, you can see this, even though I have animation set, because it's going the wrong direction, it doesn't animate. So let's go ahead and go the right direction. And now when I open and close the door, it animates as expected. And that's how easy it is to set up a sliding door. Okay, this is going to be about lift doors. Lift doors are really simple to set up. It's essentially a one-click. Let's go ahead to our object layer so I can select my door token and then set it as a lift. And it's just that simple. With lift doors, there's no animation or other things available in regards to Keyhole Peeps or things like that. So lift doors are very similar to your super simple door. To show you what that would look like from a player, again, if they just open the door, the door essentially disappears because it lifts out of the way. So that's really how a lift door would work. All right, let's talk about windows. Windows function slightly different than doors in that you can remove vision blocking but retain motion or movement blocking. So if you were to have a window that was the size of maybe 10 feet wide or 20 feet wide, you can still do that and block movement through that window. So let's go ahead and do that now. Windows work off kind of the template token, so I'll drop one of those down. Let's move it into place and I'll size it up so it fits good. And I'm going to have a couple of these, so I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that token. I'm going to put one other one over here as well, and essentially going to size these up to where I want them to be. All right, that looks good. Okay, and I'm going to set it as a window. I'm going to set this one as a window, and let's see how that works. So going back to the token layer, I come over here, I can see that I don't have visibility into either of those. If I go ahead and open it, it's just that it's open and I can't get in, but you can see past it. So that's kind of how Windows would work in that you can see into the space, but you're not allowed to move into the space. Okay, and that's how Windows are set up for ActionPads. So in this section, we're going to talk about the Drawbridge Door effect. And I've kind of got a scene set here where I have a chasm token on the background. I have a drawbridge token also on the background. And then I've laid down some movement blocking layer to, again, stop the token from moving across the drawbridge. This isn't around vision blocking, it is movement blocking. Okay, so let's go to the background layer and set my token as a action pad. And then I can actually go back to this blocking layer view and set my drawbridge. And you'll see some things change. This is to say I've selected it as a drawbridge and the open state is already set and I need to do the closed state. So in this case, the open state is captured by the size of the token, and you'll see that I've got overlapping, I should say, beyond the edge of the blocking layer. So I have some visible token here and here. All right, the other portion that I need to finish for closed is this does use offsets similar to a sliding door. So I'm going to offset this so it can be in a closed state. Let's see about there, and I can set closed. And at that point, your drawbridge is kind of done. This can be animated just like sliding doors. So if I want to animate this, I can select the door, and I think that's the right direction. No, it's not. So let's select the door again, and this way. let's close it. That's right. So that's essentially the same effect that you would have for animation on a drawbridge. And what's happening here is the blocking layer is, removed and added. So this is closed, and this is what happens in opened. All right, that should finish up the drawbridge. All right, this section is going to be about door locking. We can lock doors in a few different ways. The easiest way, if you open the door or click on the actuator icon, you can click this and that will lock the door. If the player or anyone else tries to attempt the door, it changes it to the lock state, and it also will allow this token or this option to show up. If you unlock the door, it's again that simple. You won't know until you try. So if you click on the door, you can now open, and you'll also notice that the key option is missing. If you do use this lock unlock option, the only way to unlock the door is through this button. There isn't a key that a player could use to unlock the door. Let's go ahead and unlock it, set it back to its kind of default state. And the second option is to actually drop a key that's married to this door. To do that option, we select the door, go to the configuration, and drop a key. This drops a key token on the token layer, and I want to move this. In order to move a token like this or an actuator, I need to turn off the overlay. Let's just move it out of the way for a minute. Okay, so you'll notice now if I click on the icon, it automatically will come up with the door lock, and it provides this option. It also has these two options. These are kind of GM overrides, so this will essentially unlock all of the doors regardless of the key state, and this will lock the doors regardless of the key state. But what you can also do here is essentially add the key to a player's inventory. You can do this a couple of different ways. From a GM, if the GM clicks on the key, it will pull up a list of the player character tokens and allow you to give the key to somebody. I can check a box and assign it, and you'll see it says this right here. The other option is this key token is actually visible on the token layer, and if a player were to click on the key, they don't see this option, they will immediately have it added to their inventory, and the key token is sent to the hidden layer. Once the player has the key, they're able to go up and then unlock the door, and then they can open it. Some of what you see here is a little bit challenging because you as the GM can override any of the states, but essentially the player wouldn't have those kind of authorities. Okay, if you want to kind of wash a key away and reset things, you can do that. First, you can just delete the token first, and let's go ahead and delete the key because I don't want it anymore. I want to kind of put this back into an unlocked only state. Right, so it should reset that token back, and then I want to essentially flush all of the keys away, and I can do that by doing this. So at that point, it's kind of removed all of the key created options off of that particular door. Now, if you do use this key drop option, you can have multiple keys. So you could drop, let's say, 3 or 5 keys per door. All of those keys need to be used against the door before the door will unlock. So you could have, again, drop 4 keys. All of those keys need to be used against the door before it's unlocked. So that's some interesting combinations, puzzles, and things like that that you can create for your players. And I think that should cover door locking. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set up my hinged doors and some windows, and once that's done, I'll continue on with some interesting tricks and things you can do as far as connecting some of these things together. Okay, so that's kind of set. Okay, one interesting trick I can do is I can link doors and other objects together. So we'll go through some door linking here. In order to link the objects together, you have to turn the Unchange selection overlay off because I need to select the actual tokens themselves. So at this point, I'm going to link these two doors together. I can highlight the actual door token. I'm going to add this as well, so I've got these two tokens selected. I'm going to turn the overlay designer back on and go into the config and link the doors. Once these two doors are linked, if I open or close or crack any of the, either of the two doors, the other door will act accordingly. So as a demonstration, we'll go back to the token layer. I'm going to open this door, and you'll see that they both open. I'm going to add animation to this real quick here, actually, too. So let's go ahead and select this door, and I believe that's the animation for that one. And this door, and I think it's the same. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. But that's essentially how that would work when we can link doors together. Now there's another trick. Once you have a linked objects like this, you could unlink one of them at a time. So let's say, for example, I only want both doors to open when this door is used. I can select, I have to first turn off the overlay. I need to select the token itself, again the door token itself, turn the overlay back on, go into configuration and unlink the door. And at that point it has been updated, and now if I go back to the token layer and open the door, just that door opens. But what's interesting here is if I were to now open this door, they both will still open because they're linked from this door. And this can get kind of interesting or neat. Let's go ahead and let me unlink this door as well. So again, the steps, object layer, hit my door token, turn my overlay on, and unlink, right? So now the doors are back to independent, and they operate independent of each other. But you can also link other things together. So as an example, let's say I want to link this window. Let me turn my overlay back off. I want to link this window and this window to this door. I can highlight those tokens and then turn my overlay back on and link. And at that point, what will happen is, let's say you open the door and it blows open all the windows. So that's the kind of different effects that you can do when you link items together. And again, if you were to unlink one object or the other, then accordingly, they'll react that way. So you can create some pretty interesting puzzles or other tricks and things you could put in front of your players. Okay, this section will be all about the doors overlay portion. So let's get into that now. The doors menu, right, is right here. And within this, we can set a token as a new door template, or this will drop a free size template token down on the object layer. This is used to set the closed state, the peak or cracked state, and the opened state. This is a three-way toggle button. This allows you to do more modifications or movements of the selected token. This sets the door as a super simple door. This allows a swing or hinged door. This is your slide left and right type door. And this is your lift door. This is like a directional keypad, similar to what I've described here, where this is 3 different modes. It changes the mode of this keypad. This, or the directional pad, this lets you go fast up, fast right, and then, right and up. And same thing, left and down. This allows you to select a door token, and it will be flagged as a secret door. If you want to use Windows, this is a way to implement Windows. When using Windows, it will lay down movement blocking layer to stop tokens from moving past where the window might be opened. And this allows you to set up a drawbridge type of door. Okay, that's it for the doors portion. The other piece that you'll want to become familiar with is the configuration options here. So to talk quickly on these top 5 icons are icons that will show up on the player's door overlay. each of these will need to would require additional programming from the game master to utilize these, but it's just ways to show knock, listen, pry, pick, and attack. This is a Keyhole Peep option. If you set up a Keyhole Peep, you can disable it or enable it through this option. This is a feature that would check to see if the player can see a particular token or door before it can be opened. A word of caution here is if you're using Fog of War and a token is covered up by 50%, then the player can't see that token. So a token needs to be visible by 51% to have it be used by the player. This is for animation. There's 3 states of animation: no animation, rotate left, and rotate right. This is for doing elaborate locks, to flush the locks and keys. This allows you to link tokens and actuators and things together. This allows you to put sound behind each of the actions you may take on a door, from the point of clicking, closing, all of those features. You can run a macro against each of those features as well. So again, on click, on open, on close. And then you can even change the picture. As an example, if a door were to be a mimic and you click on the door to open it, you could instantly change the door into a mimic and begin a combat scene. Okay, this section is going to be around customization. So there's lots of ways to customize how things look and operate in regards to the doors and really all the features within the library token. The easiest way to get to the configuration is through this gear cog. So I'm not going to go through each of these, kind of the important ones. This is the size of the overlay itself. But more importantly, the ones that are good to know is if you didn't want to use any kind of custom assets and you wanted the ActionPads library to use its own door options, this is where you could select it. Right now it's transparent or glass, but you have a handful of options you can pick in regards to just the default doors. This is handy if you just don't want to have to worry about using door tokens or anything else. This will essentially create that for you. Other things to note that are important, this is around the distance in pixels a player must be from the center of a door actuator token. Some speed options in regards to the door, how quickly, how much time in milliseconds it will take to fully open and close, and then the increment. Okay, that's kind of some key pieces there. Other ways to customize ActionPads. If you don't care for these particular white tokens, you can change that. Those images come from these 2 locations. So if you were to change these 2 images, then any future doors created will use those new images. You'll notice there isn't a 3rd image for the crack position. So if you do customize these, then the crack position will essentially be open. And you'll only have those 2 states. You can pick multiple states, but the only thing that shows up is the opened and closed kind of state. Those icon changes impacted the actual icon here. It does not change these, so these will remain as is. I suppose if enough appetite or request comes in, I can actually change the image of these and maybe pull them from a table.